All right, let's switch gears here to the Reds, which we haven't really been talking about as they've been playing out the string on this season. But then lo and behold, Sunday night, I get a text from one of our buddies who's saying, is the Reds really David Bell's fault? And I said, you want to do this on Sunday night? Seriously? He goes, well, they just fired him. I go, what? What are they doing with 5 games left? They make the decision to fire David Bell. Skinny, how much of this was them actually trying to get ahead and get an extra week run versus how much of this was trying to just be below the fold in the newspaper the next day with the Bengals playing Monday Night Football the following day?
So that was my cynical thought. And then I asked somebody who said that literally they do. This is kind of when they're having their organizational meetings and they did want to get a head start on it. And the timing of it was the one I said, well, come on, late on a Sunday night. Well, apparently David had something to do with his son. I think he was playing a football game or something. He wanted to go watch that. Then he wanted to have the time frame to call friends and family to let them know he'd been fired. He didn't want it leaked out. By the time he did that, it was like 9 o'clock at night. And that's when the Reds finally sent something out at 10 o'clock. But yeah, the cynical part of me thought this is like the late Friday news dump that gets buried.
I thought it was the most hysterical news dump I'd ever seen. A Sunday 10 p.m. before Monday Night Football with 5 games left.
I fell asleep at halftime of the Sunday night game. And I woke up at like 4 a.m. and I looked down at a text from a friend of mine. Said, what a Bush League move, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what is he even talking about? Then I had to go to our website. I went, oh my gosh, they fired David Bell. Okay. That's how I found out about it.
Yeah. It was just one of those weird moments. And here's what I keep coming back to. David Bell is not the reason the Reds are in the situation they're in. He's also not the solution. He wasn't making anything better. And I don't have much confidence that he was going to be the guy that turned things around and got them out of this. So I really am mostly indifferent to the fact that he's been fired, or if he stayed the manager, I would have felt the same way. The thing that I keep coming back to, though, is they signed him to a 3-year extension last July.
Insane.
That just speaks to the fact that they have no plan. They have no ability to stick to a plan, and they have no clue what they're doing.
Well, and that's the thing. If you go back and look at some of the flowery quotes from Nick Kroll back then of how, he's done a great job with these young guys and we're building something here. I don't listen. We've talked about this a billion times during the summer. It wouldn't move the needle either way for me if David Bell stayed or was fired. I'd shrug my shoulder at either one of those things. But I just want to, what changed? I mean, I've never thought a whole lot of David Bell as a manager. I didn't think much changed in the way he managed this season. Were there some fundamental flaws base running? Yeah, I'll grant you some of that. Could you question some of his bullpen moves? You can question every manager's bullpen moves. But when I have a choice between writing Stuart Fairchild or Will Benson on the lineup card every day, fully knowing that they suck, I mean, whose fault is that?
Exactly right. And I mean, even more so this year when you factor in like the Noelvi Marte suspension, the injuries that he faced. I mean, what
failure of Jamer Candelario, who you signed, Nick Kroll.
Yeah, I mean, when you're pinning it on like the defense, but the reason the defense sucked is in large part because of the guys you brought in at the last minute through free agency to fill some gap. Like, I just don't understand their reasoning. I don't really care. Again, I'm fine with David Bell being fired. I have nothing. Yeah. I'm not going to fight that at all. I have zero optimism that they are going to fix things as a result of this, and that this is a move in the right direction.
And listen, I wrote a piece, I think it was last summer because we talked about it on the podcast, lauding a lot of the trades that Nick Kroll made to get rid of some veterans to bring in prospects and how they won most of those trades. And I thought he was trending in the right direction, but man, their farm system now looks very bare. That they're, I don't know what is their plan to spend. Will they spend? I don't know because they haven't had a try. Now, again, you can say, well, they spent this offseason. Yeah, you spent on a hack reliever, Emilio Pagan. Nick Martinez has been great, and I hope they are able to bring him back. But Candelario was past due. Do you trust them even if they do spend money to go sign the right guy?
No. I mean, and with the Reds, like with the Bengals, it's a little bit different because at least you had that run to the Super Bowl. You had the team looked like there was a window there, so to speak, to use that cliche again. There was the window. It's looked like it might be shutting quick, but the Reds never even had anything going on. Like I don't understand what we're supposed to be clinging to. There was like basically 18 months ago, we started deciding some of these young guys were looking really promising. And so we were like, oh, it's opening up. The Reds are going to be a contender here in the next couple of years. And that has just gone completely by the wayside. All of a sudden, they're right back in the dumps of Major League Baseball.
And listen, I can certainly point to injuries being a factor here, but is there an issue with the way you train your guys? You have a whole starting pitching staff that wound up getting on the DL. Matt McLean has never gotten. I honestly, I'm of the ilk. Do I ever see Matt McLean play again? I'm serious about that. It just keeps getting kicked down the road. Then Christian Encarnacion Strand plays with a fractured wrist that hadn't completely healed yet. I mean, well, what are we doing with that side of things too?
Yeah. Do you like any of the names that have been floated out there for potential manager? I've seen Terry Francona, Skip Schumacher, David Ross, Don Mattingly.
Skip Schumacher was manager of the year in the National League last year. I mean, I know you're going to look at his record this year in Miami, but my God, that was a horror. Remember we played the game of, remember when I was trying to name the starters?
Yeah, I mean, he was set up. It was a rebuilding scrappy year.
Yeah, correct. I like Don Mattingly. I mean, he did some good things in Miami. I like David Ross.
How old is Don Mattingly at this point?
It's a good question. I don't think he's probably around the mid 60 mark. Like Francona's 65,
he's only
I
63.
believe.
I was going to say 75.
No, I was going to say he and Francona played pretty much in the same era. And Francona's 65. I mean, Francona's the most accomplished of the bunch. And he's won everywhere he's been. So you love that pedigree. I just wonder, he had some health issues at the end in Cleveland. If he's even interested in doing something like that.
Do you think Barry Larkin is a legitimate candidate?
I do.
What are your thoughts on him potentially getting it? Would you like that? Or do you think
from what I understand, he doesn't want it, but could be talked into it. And so I think that's where we're at.
Interesting. Do you get the sense that the Reds really want him? Like he would be the top option if he would say yes?
I don't think he'd be the top option.
He's in the group.
But I think he, again, if the upper part of this ownership group can talk him into it, I think he would do it. I think otherwise they would go somewhere else.
Interesting. Any other thoughts on the
No, I'm with you. I mean, it didn't move the needle for me. I mean, what'll move the needle, I think, for every Reds fan, myself and you and everybody that follows this team is what will you do this offseason? What kind of things can you do to make this team better? And don't tell me it's Matt McLean's coming back, Christian Encarnacion Strand's coming back, the pitching staff's all coming back. No. That's still not enough. You need more, and you need to do more, and you need to have a plan. And it can't just be spend money. I mean, spend money wisely. Go get players that can actually perform that aren't in their early 30s who are on the downside of their career. Go get somebody in their prime that's going to cost you or something along those lines. Get somebody that's going to make a difference on this team, at least somebody. And then if McLean comes back and CES comes back and Marte, gets a full off season and full spring training to maybe get back to what he looked like, his rookie year, 2 years ago, not his rookie year. I guess this is technically his rookie year. Then we can maybe have a conversation about things heading in the right direction. Until otherwise, you're either spinning your tires or you're going backwards.
Yeah. Until I see them have success on the field in actual games, maybe even make
I got suckered
or something crazy, I am not going to fall for it again. I can tell you that
I got suckered. Yeah, I told you I thought this was a playoff caliber team when the year started. I said, I can't imagine all these guys have sophomore slumps. I was counting on Matt McLean playing the whole year, at least a chunk of the year, and I was counting on CES doing more than he did, and that didn't come to fruition because of injury. But listen, I got duped too, so I'm kind of with you. I need to see it.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me Hunter Green would have the year that he had this year and they still would be a disaster, that would have been so disheartening to tell me before the season, and that's right. Exactly how it played out.
No, right.
You can always get local stories right here on YouTube, but go ahead and hit that subscribe button to get notifications to stay in the know.